Hi everyone, and welcome to our second edition of a video for Courageous Homekeeping. And today, since Thanksgiving is coming up, we're going to be teaching how to do the perfect pie crust. And this pie crust is the pie crust that came down from my grandma, I believe, through my mom, and I think it's the best one out there. So we're going to show you how to do that. And helping me today is my niece Sarah. Can you see the family resemblance? And her friend Timber. And how old are you girls?
11.
11, okay. And have you guys ever made pie crust before?
No. I've eaten it, but I've never made it.
Okay. Alright, so are you ready to get started? We're going to measure 2 cups of flour into your bowl. And you can go ahead and do that. Please don't slide. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I'll get another measure. And 1 teaspoon of salt in with your flour. Give that a little, you have to take turns with this. Give it a little mix to kind of sift it all together. Okay, and now these are already pre-measured. And this is 2/3 of a cup of shortening. So you're gonna go ahead and dump that into each one of your bowls. Here's the fun part. This is when we need to smush the shortening into the flour and get it into nice coarse crumbs. So we're just gonna smush it. You can smush it against the side of your bowl and just keep turning it. I like to do this with a fork because I think it's a little bit easier, but you can also use pastry blender and you can do that, but I like the fork better because I think you have more control over it and whatever. It might take a little bit longer, but once you have the crumbs looking nice and fine like this and all the shortening all mixed in there, you're going to start adding a little bit of cold water and start with, it really just is kind of going to depend on the temperature and humidity of the room, but so you can start with about 3 tablespoons. This is the part where you're going to need to kind of start being careful about being delicate with it, and because if you mix it too much, it's going to be tough pie crust. So you want it to be light and fluffy. So what you want to do is kind of scrape up from the bottom and turn it gently. See how I'm doing that? You scrape, you kind of turn the whole thing. 3 tablespoons was not quite enough water, so it's not holding together real well quite yet. So I'll help you add a couple more. So that ended up being 5 tablespoons total of cold water. Sprinkle a little bit of flour on the counter in front of you, like that.
Cool.
You can sprinkle some. Okay. That's good. Okay, now take dump your dough out. Kind of squish your dough all together in a big ball. And once you have it all squished together, you could take your hand and kind of like slowly karate chop about half. This is how I do it. That makes it nice and easy. It doesn't have to be perfect, just approximately half. And then take one of your halves and make it into a ball and stick it back into your bowl for now. Okay, so now we've got half of your dough, and you want to kind of squish it back into a ball. Should hold together pretty, like Play-Doh. Okay, so now you're going to want to probably sprinkle a little more flour in your spot. That was a lot of flour, Sarah. You didn't leave any for Timber.
Here, Timber.
Okay, so take your ball, stick it down, and then kind of smush it. We're going to smush it into a circle, nice flat circle. And then you could take your rolling pin, and we're going to just roll it out. So you can roll a little bit and then turn it and then roll some more. If it starts to stick, to your rolling pin, you can either take a little bit of flour like this in your hand and kind of spread it on your rolling pin, or you can sprinkle some on top of your dough and that'll help, or you can do both and that'll help it to not stick. just keep rolling it out until you have a nice flat circle. So start on one side and take a thin spatula and kind of start just sliding it under there all around the edge. And then once you get an edge loose from the counter, lift it up on one side and kind of stick your hand underneath like this. So you can hold it up with your hand, and then use the spatula for the other side and you can kind of flip it. And then once you get to the end, loosen the whole thing up from the counter. Once everything is loose, then you can bring your pie plate, kind of stick it in front of you, and then you can carefully pick it up. Just set it nicely into the pie pan. There you go. Perfect. Good job, girls. And now all you need to do is just unroll it. Okay, so once you have it in your pie plate, you're going to want to press it down so it's nice and flat and even all the way around. You can press it to the sides too so there's not any lumpiness, any thick parts of the pie crust. Get it all nice in there. And you do want to have the pie hanging over the edge, and we'll show you why in just a minute. So the next step of your pie crust is going to depend on what kind of pie you're going to be making. If you are needing something that has a pre-baked pie, what you're going to want a pre-baked pie crust. You're going to want to finish the edge like Sarah did, or however you want to, and then you're going to want to poke holes all in the pie crust like this. You're going to want to take your knife and just trim. So this would be the pie crust that's ready to go into the oven, and pre-baked if you're doing like a lemon meringue pie or something that calls for a pre-baked pie crust. So in our case, we are not going to do that. So I'm going to erase all of these little hole pokes, because if you're putting a filling in an unbaked pie crust, you don't want holes in it, because otherwise the filling will run underneath the pie crust and then it'll make it soggy. So this is just the pumpkin pie filling, and we're going to fill it about up to there. And then that just is ready to go into the oven, and that's the entire pie crust right there. You can also, do fun things on the edge if you want to, but you don't have to. And this is a tin pie plate. And if you are wanting to do a pie that has a top, we'll do that with timbers. We have some apples ready for pie filling. We're going to take our second pie crust and we're going to put it over the top like a blanket. With your hand and the flour like that, I'm going to get the side of your fingers, just so your fingers don't stick to the crust. Okay, so you want to do this little motion with you put your thumb up on your finger like that, and you're going to get on the edge of the pie and you're going to kind of pinch it. And we'll do this all the way around. Okay. Once you have your pie crust pinched all the way around, you're going to take your knife and just trim off all the extra that's hanging over the edge. You could take your knife and just poke little holes in the top because it needs to be able to vent. If you want to, you can sprinkle cinnamon and sugar on top and then put it in the oven and bake it. And that's it. Pie crust. So that was your first time doing pie crust, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you think it went?
Good. Good.
Did you feel like it was pretty easy, or did you feel like it was hard?
It was easy. It was easy.
Yeah. Do you think you would be able to go home and whip out a pie for your mom for Thanksgiving?
If I remembered how to do it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, girls, for coming and for helping and for being willing to demonstrate. And it was fun.
Okay. Thank you.